Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Chekhovich, and I'm an activist in exile. And for 8 years, I have been managing finances at Alexei Navalny's anti-corruption foundation, the leading opposition power in Russia. And at the ACF, we constantly faced financial repressions when working in Russia. Our bank accounts were frozen, our funds seized, and financial censorship became just another tool the Russian regime used to silence us. So back in 2016, the ACF turned to Bitcoin. It became our financial lifeline, helping us receive donations, make payments, and continue operating in Russia when our bank accounts were frozen by Russian authorities. Here you can see the picture on the screen of our bank accounts being frozen. And today we operate in exile, but Bitcoin still remains a crucial tool in our daily financial operations, with over a quarter of our budget circulating in Bitcoin. Russian citizens still support us. They send us Bitcoin donations, but those donations must remain private and anonymous, because helping us is very dangerous. For a single donation from Russia to our organization, a Russian citizen will face up to 8 years of imprisonment. That is why, when receiving donations from our Russian supporters, we use technologies that provide privacy layers for those donations. We use technologies like CoinJoin to protect our donors, to protect their identities from being exposed to the Russian government. We also use Bitcoin to send financial aid to Russia to support political prisoners and their families, to support political activists who keep fighting against the regime inside the country. And it's not possible to do it with the banking system, because Russia is now under global financial sanctions and the entire country is being cut off from the international banking system. It's physically not possible to send money to Russia anymore. That is why we use Bitcoin for that. And I personally paid with Bitcoin when we had to pay for Alexei Navalny's funeral service in Moscow. And this is not just our story. Today, over 70% of global population live under some form of authoritarian rule. And all dictators use the same playbook. When they cannot shut down your organization, when they cannot silence your voice, they freeze your bank accounts. And after everything I'd experienced, I realized that I could help other activists who face the same struggles. This is why I decided to start assisting the Human Rights Foundation educational program for activists. We launched our first Bitcoin webinar just a year ago, and today we host up to 130 students at a time from more than 50 countries. After I experienced financial repressions in Russia, I designed the program for activists and nonprofits specifically to address their unique challenges and risks they're facing in their work. And it's not just activists who need this education, it's also the organizations and the people trying to help them. Because when the charity abroad tries to send financial aid to activists who work and fight against their oppressive regimes on the ground, these bank wire transfers just get blocked by oppressive governments. Funds seized, and even worse, the activists get labeled as foreign agents and they face criminal charges. That is why I'm proud to mention that organizations like the National Endowment for Democracy and Amnesty International came to us to learn about Bitcoin and its potential. In addition to the webinars, I also provide offline education. I provide offline workshops for human rights defenders globally. And I see a significant shift. It's no longer a surprise to see my Bitcoin workshop at the Human Rights Conference, because everyone is starting to understand now that financial freedom is essential to all other freedoms. For example, just a month ago at the Oslo Freedom Forum, my Bitcoin workshop was attended by 60 activists. And now even universities are paying attention. I taught students at MIT and the University of Virginia, where Bitcoin as a freedom tool becoming a significant subject of academic research. But this is what I actually worry about right now. When we talk about Bitcoin regulations, especially here in America, it is important to remember that the policy that is enacted here sets the standard globally. Developers now are afraid to build privacy-focused tools, those tools that are very important for people like me, for activists, because those developers are afraid of persecution. If we regulate Bitcoin as a speculative asset only, Bitcoin we're killing its humanitarian potential. And for people like me, it's not about making profit, it's about survival. And so the regulators and the policymakers in this room, I would like to urge you to understand that the human impact that you make with your decisions makes direct impact to people like me. And if you may not see the people that you are affecting with your decisions, but they exist. They are the Afghan women who fund underground schools for girls, the Venezuelan opposition leaders and activists in exile who provide financial aid to doctors across the borders in Venezuela, the Russian activists who speak the truth and risk their lives for doing that. So this is why it is vital that you support Bitcoin infrastructure and privacy-focused tools, because every restriction here can enable repression somewhere else. So if you're new to Bitcoin, if you never used this technology before and you would like to learn how to use it, I would like to invite you to my upcoming webinar and to a workshop today at 3 p.m. here, where I will teach you how to use Bitcoin. I will teach you the basics of Bitcoin. I will tell you more stories of activists using it globally, and you will receive your first Bitcoin transaction. I hope to see you there. Thank you.